Have you ever noticed a pattern throughout history, in our myths, our movies, and even in our own communities? The older, established man and the younger woman. It's a story so common we've almost become numb to it. Our modern world is quick to label it, to reduce it to a simple, often unflattering cliché. We call it a midlife crisis, a vanity project, or a quest for status. We dismiss it as an older man simply trying to recapture his youth through a trophy partner. And on the surface, those explanations seem to make sense. Of course, there's an element of physical attraction. Certainly, there can be a desire to feel more vibrant and alive. But if we stop there, we're missing the entire point. These superficial answers don't come close to explaining the profound, magnetic, and often unconscious pull that an older man can feel. They don't account for the depth of the longing, which is often less about the woman herself and more about something she represents, something he feels is missing from the very core of his being. To truly understand this hidden craving, we have to go beyond pop psychology and surface-level judgments. We need a map to navigate the hidden depths of the human psyche. And for that, we turn to the work of the legendary Swiss psychiatrist, Carl Gustav Jung. Jung dedicated his life to exploring the unconscious, the vast and hidden part of ourselves that drives our behaviors, our attractions, and our deepest needs without us even realizing it. His work gives us the key to unlocking this mystery. Because the truth is, what an older man is secretly craving in a younger woman isn't just her youth or her beauty. It's something far more powerful and symbolic. He is searching for a lost part of his own soul. He is desperately and often unknowingly trying to reconnect with a vital, life-giving energy that he has suppressed or lost touch with over the long years of building a career, a family, and an identity. He isn't just craving a younger partner, he is craving what Jung called the anima. To grasp the true nature of this hidden craving, we first need to understand the basic architecture of the human psyche as Jung saw it. He proposed that our conscious mind, the part we think of as us, with our thoughts, feelings, and decisions we're aware of, is merely the tip of a massive iceberg. Beneath the surface lies the unconscious, a vast and influential realm that governs much of our behavior without our knowledge. This unconscious is itself divided into two layers. First, there's the personal unconscious, which contains our forgotten memories, repressed desires, and everything we've pushed down from our individual experiences. But deeper than that lies what Jung called the collective unconscious, perhaps his most revolutionary idea. This is not personal to us. It's the inherited, universal bedrock of the human psyche, shared across cultures and time, containing the basic psychological patterns that shape all human experience. These fundamental patterns are what Jung termed archetypes. Think of them as the psychic equivalent of hardwired instincts. They are not inherited images or ideas, but rather innate predispositions to experience and express certain universal themes in a characteristically human way. They are the recurring cast of characters that appear in our dreams, our myths, and our stories because they are the fundamental characters of the human drama itself. Across the world, we see stories of the hero, who ventures into the unknown to achieve a great feat, the wise old man or woman, who offers guidance and knowledge, the nurturing mother, who represents comfort and unconditional love, and the trickster, who disrupts the status quo. These figures resonate with us on a primal level because they are built into the very structure of our minds. For the successful older man we're discussing, two specific archetypes are particularly relevant in setting the stage for this midlife dynamic. The first is the persona. Derived from the Latin word for the mask worn by actors on stage, the persona is the archetype of the role we play in society. It's the carefully curated mask we present to the world to fit in, to be accepted, and to achieve our goals. For many men, this persona becomes the provider, the leader, the responsible CEO, or the dutiful patriarch. He builds his identity around this mask, investing decades into perfecting this role of stability, control, and competence. The second crucial archetype is the shadow. This is the flip side of the persona. It contains everything the conscious ego has repressed or denied in order to maintain its chosen identity. It's the repository for our wilder impulses, our raw emotions, our vulnerabilities, our selfishness, and even our creative spontaneity, all the things that don't fit the image of the stoic, successful man. And this is where the crisis begins. After 20 or 30 years of diligently building a powerful persona and systematically repressing his shadow, a man can arrive at midlife having achieved everything he thought he wanted. He has the career, the family, the respect. But he is often met with a profound and unsettling emptiness. He has played the part so well and for so long that he has lost touch with who he is underneath the mask. The role has consumed the actor. The vitality, passion, and spontaneity of his youth, all those qualities banished to the shadow, feel like a distant memory. He feels dry, hollow, and trapped in a life that, while successful on paper, feels devoid of genuine meaning, soul, and authentic feeling. This existential vacuum, this feeling of having lived a life that isn't truly one's own, is the true breeding ground for the midlife crisis. It is from this place of deep psychic hunger that the secret craving for something more, something life-giving, begins to emerge. At the heart of this midlife emptiness lies the most crucial archetype for understanding the male psyche, the anima. Jung defined the anima as the inner, unconscious, feminine side of a man. It is important to understand that this is not a literal thing, nor is it a commentary on gender roles in a social sense. It is a profound psychological reality, an archetypal image residing in the collective unconscious that represents the principle of relatedness, feeling, and connection within a man's own being. The anima is the personification of all the psychological tendencies in a man's psyche that might be called feminine, his capacity for emotion, for intimacy, for intuition, for nurturing, for soulfulness, and for a connection to the deeper, often irrational, currents of life. In a world that often prizes masculine values of logic, achievement, and detachment, these softer, more receptive qualities are frequently suppressed or left underdeveloped as a man builds his persona. The anima, therefore, holds everything a man has neglected in himself in order to become what the world expected him to be. This inner feminine figure is not a real woman, and this is the most critical point of confusion. She is an internal image, a complex of feelings and impressions, that a man inevitably projects onto the women in his external life. He mistakes this powerful internal image for an external reality. She becomes the lens through which he perceives and relates to women, and he is drawn to those who seem to embody the qualities his own soul lacks. A man does not fall in love with a woman purely for who she is. To a significant degree, he falls in love with his own unconscious anima, which he has projected onto her. She becomes the vessel for his own unexpressed emotional life, his buried creativity, and his yearning for soulful connection. Jung observed that this inner image does not remain static, it evolves and matures throughout a man's life, often reflected in the types of women he is drawn to. He outlined this progression in 4 broad, symbolic stages. The first stage is Eve, named for the biblical figure, which represents the purely biological and instinctual aspect of the feminine. At this level, the anima is tied to the mother archetype and the primal forces of nature, manifesting as a basic, powerful attraction to a woman as a source of physical life and instinctual gratification. The second stage is Helen, named for Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships. This represents the romantic and aesthetic ideal, where the feminine is admired for its beauty, charm, and romantic allure. It is less about raw instinct and more about idealized romance, though it remains largely on a superficial, poetic level. The third stage is Mary, named for the Virgin Mary, which signifies a spiritual elevation of the feminine. Here, the attraction moves beyond the physical and romantic into the realm of devotion, virtue, and spiritual reverence. The woman is seen as capable of embodying purity and a higher love, becoming an object of almost sacred admiration. The final and most mature stage is Sophia, named for the Greek goddess of wisdom. This represents the fully integrated anima as a guide to meaning and wholeness. Sophia is not an object of love or devotion but a psychopomp, a mediator who guides a man towards self-knowledge, wisdom, and a connection to the ultimate meaning of his own life. She represents the fully realized integration of the feminine principle within the man himself. The crisis of the older man is that he is often stuck at an earlier stage of this development. After a lifetime of over-identifying with his masculine persona, his anima has remained unconscious and undeveloped. He has not done the inner work to integrate his own capacity for feeling, soul, and relatedness. Therefore, he feels a desperate, psychic hunger for these very qualities. He is starved for the vitality, the passion, the emotional depth, and the sense of aliveness that his own anima represents. This is the secret craving. It is a hunger for his own soul, but because it is so unconscious, he mistakenly believes the answer lies outside of himself, in the presence of a younger woman who appears to embody everything he has lost or never allowed himself to have. This powerful, often disruptive craving, while potentially destructive if acted upon unconsciously, is not some meaningless flaw or mere moral failing. From a Jungian perspective, it is, in fact, a critical message from the depths of the psyche. It is a profound, albeit painful, call to embark on the most important journey of a man's life, the journey of individuation. Individuation is Jung's term for the process of psychological integration, the lifelong project of becoming a whole, complete individual by acknowledging and incorporating the various disowned parts of one's own personality. The intense longing for a younger woman is, at its core, a distorted and externalized cry for this very wholeness. The psyche is using the powerful energy of attraction to signal that something vital is missing, that the current one-sided mode of existence is no longer sustainable. The craving itself is the symptom of a soul seeking to reclaim its full expression. Therefore, the solution to this existential dilemma is not to be found in the outside world, but in a courageous act of inner reclamation. The secret is not to find the perfect younger woman to complete you. That is a fantasy that places an impossible burden on another human being and abdicates your own psychological responsibility. The true secret, the path to liberation, is to withdraw the projection. This is the essential, difficult work. It means slowly and consciously pulling back that golden, luminous glow you have cast onto another person and recognizing that the vibrancy, the passion, the soulfulness, and the sense of life you so admire in her are not her exclusive properties. They are, in fact, latent parts of your own being that you have failed to acknowledge and develop. You are not seeing her, you are seeing your own buried potential reflected back at you. The relationship becomes a mirror, showing you not your ideal partner, but the parts of yourself you have yet to love and integrate. This process of withdrawal and integration is an active, internal endeavor. It requires an older man to turn away from the external search and instead journey inward to reconnect with the qualities his anima represents. This is not about regressing or trying to act like a young man. It is about consciously cultivating those youthful qualities of soul within the container of a mature self. It means deliberately creating space for creativity, perhaps picking up a paintbrush, an instrument, or a journal that was abandoned long ago. It involves reopening the door to genuine emotion, allowing himself to feel deep sadness, joy, and vulnerability without immediately shutting it down with logic or stoicism. It means learning to trust his intuition, that gut feeling he has spent a lifetime overruling with spreadsheets and rational analysis. And crucially, it means rediscovering a capacity for play, spontaneity, and non-goal-oriented enjoyment, simply doing something for the sheer pleasure of it, without any need for a quantifiable outcome or achievement. This is how the anima is integrated, not through another person, but through a dedicated practice of welcoming all of these disowned aspects back into the fabric of one's daily life, thereby becoming a more complete and authentic human being. So, the next time you witness this dynamic playing out, whether in the public eye or in private life, I encourage you to look beyond the simplistic and often judgmental cliché. What you are observing is far more than a vanity project or a mere crisis. It is a deep, unconscious psychological drama unfolding in real time. It is a man's profound, often desperate, search for his own soul, for the lost pieces of his humanity that he had to sacrifice to build his identity. The tragedy is not the desire itself, but that he is looking for it in the wrong place, seeking an external solution to an internal problem, and in doing so, he risks causing immense pain to himself and others. It is absolutely crucial to add a significant note of nuance here. In focusing on the man's psychological projection, we must be careful not to reduce the younger woman to a mere screen for his inner drama. She is not a passive object or a blank slate. She is a whole, complex individual with her own rich inner world, her own psychology, and her own unconscious motivations. Her attraction in such a dynamic might be influenced by her own archetypal patterns, perhaps a search for security, wisdom, or guidance that she projects onto the older man through her own inner masculine principle, what Jung termed the animus. This is a completely separate but equally fascinating dynamic that deserves its own deep exploration in another discussion. To see her only through the lens of his projection is to commit the same error we are trying to understand. The ultimate takeaway from all of this is that the craving itself is real and meaningful, but its object is tragically misplaced. The secret, for an older man or for anyone feeling a sense of lack, is to realize that the wholeness we relentlessly seek in another person can only ever be found by turning inward and embarking on the courageous, often difficult, journey of self-discovery. The goal is not to find a young woman who embodies the soulfulness you lack. The goal is to do the hard, rewarding work of finding and nurturing that youthful, vibrant soul inside of yourself. The final stage of the anima is not a person to be loved, but a state of being to be achieved, a state of integrated wholeness where you become your own source of creativity, passion, and meaning.